If you've been a long-time fan of Freaking Names related video games, then you probably have heard of the name Sangokushi Taisen somewhere before. Well, Sangokushi Taisen is a video game series developed and published by Sega, which mixes real-time strategy and card collecting elements. Although the series did have game entries for the Nintendo DS and mobile devices, the main platform for the series was the arcade, and more importantly, the series never saw the light of an English localization. Except that one blockchain game that was released in early 2025 and ended servers within the same year. We don't talk about that one, okay? The series first began live in 2005 and has seen many iterations developed by many different teams, but its very first outing was produced by this dude, Nishiyama-Yasuhiro. And after more than 2 decades at Sega, Nishiyama-san left the company in 2024 to found his own company. Then, on July 13th of 2026, his company released its first video game into early access, Freaking Names Bond. The game is sort of a spiritual successor to Sangokushi Taisen, but with a mix of roguelike into it, and the combat being streamlined to auto-battler instead of having the player manually control the units in a real-time battle. The game's tutorial is a bit too long-winded for my liking, but the core gameplay is actually pretty simple to understand. This here is your officer card. Each card comes with its own cost, indicated by the circles at the top of the card, its own troop type and faction, indicated by the icons on the top left and right of the card, its own force and intellect stats, indicated by the number on the bottom left and right of the card, with force being how much attack and defense a unit can have, and intellect being how effective their ability and ambush can be. And most importantly, each card comes with its own unique ability that requires certain conditions to be fulfilled first before it can be activated. The main gameplay loop comes in a 3-act structure, opening, middle, and end, and you slowly build up your deck in between acts, which is where the roguelike elements kick in. Before you get to do anything, you must first build your initial deck, with your initial deck consisting of officers with a total cost of 4 or less, and a mandatory strategist that offers one-time power-up in the fight. In the opening act, you gain 3 more costs that you can use to recruit more officer cards later. You have 6 moves to land on 6 different nodes, with each node housing 1 officer card that you can choose to get. In the middle act, from whatever amount of costs you currently have, you can choose to recruit any officers from the 6 that pop up. Any unused leftover cost can be saved for the next phase. Then you go into the ending act, which is where you get into combat with your opponent. Before the combat begins, you can choose the position that you want to place your units as well as their initial moving routes, so there's still a bit of strategizing before the auto-combat kicks in. Then after the combat ends, you repeat the gameplay loop 2 more times to complete the 3-act structure yet again, with the ultimate goal being to destroy the opponent's castle's health gauge or at least just reduce it to be lower than yours. With there being over 100 officer cards divided into 5 different troop types and 4 different factions, combined with the roguelike elements, making coming up with the best team strategy can be pretty fun, and each run being fairly short, lasting less than 10 minutes, and the combat itself being an auto-battler means that you don't really need to commit too much into the game. Speaking of commitment, the deck building elements lend itself very well into those free-to-play live service games, with the player having to do gacha rolls to be able to get the cards they want, but I'm honestly pretty pleasantly surprised to find out that the game isn't free-to-play and the cards are random drops after a battle or after you have cleared a mission. No daily mission that you need to clear, no fear of missing out banners that you need to spend your hard-earned currency to roll on just to keep up with the meta. That's something. Pretty sad for the state of gaming if these things are considered appeal points actually. Anyway, the main thing holding the game back right now is that it currently doesn't have much in the way of content. 100 officers sound like a lot, but when they are divided between 5 different troop types and 4 different factions, viable team building options really aren't that many, and currently there are only 2 main modes for you to play in, one where you combat ghost data of all the players, and one where you battle a specific CPU deck, which is almost like a puzzle mode where you have to build the right deck to counter the CPU. You can also set up a mushroom to actively battle another player instead of their ghost data, but I unfortunately lack the human resource to test this mode out. The translation is also kinda on the iffy side, with many things still left untranslated. And one thing that I personally have some gripes with is the art. Different cards being drawn by different artists is part of the appeal of a card collecting game, but the art quality in this game is a bit inconsistent for my liking. And I'm not talking about the mix of realistic and stylized portraits. I'm talking about how some cards look very well drawn, sitting right next to some cards that look very amateurish. It just feels really jarring going through the card list and see the sudden clash in quality. What the hell is even going on with her anatomy here? What the fuck? Though, seeing that the game is still in its early access phase, I trust that the game will get around its current shortcomings and become a better product over time. But considering its current price tag of being dirt cheap, I think the game is already plenty enjoyable. Though whether the game could receive meaningful updates and long-lasting support or not would still depend on how many players pick the game up. So I hope that more people would become aware of the game. It is pretty darn simple fun if nothing else. Anyway, that should be all for this video. Hope you found it somewhat informative and hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye bye.